Whew. Sorry to be a little bit late, y'all. I apologize. Right as I was getting everything fired up, had to go to the bathroom, and I am not one to hold it for an hour unless I absolutely have to. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I'm your host, Kalari GXC. Give me a moment to get the word out on Spoutable, and then we will get fired up because there is a lot to talk about. I know I say that a lot, but yeah, there is definitely a lot to talk about. Unless you were living under a rock, you know what happened this weekend. We will get to that. There's a lot that I'm going to bring up about that. But let me get the word out really quick, then we'll get it fired off, whether the chat fills up or not. You know how we do. Get the word out. Come on, Spoutable. There we go. All right. Well, like I said, there is a lot that I want to bring up before we get to. Hi, Pix. It's good to see you, honey. Before we get to the more serious topics, we need to keep focused because people only want to think on the federal level when it comes to politics. And right now, if you're living in Virginia, you're under Governor Youngkin, a freaking idiot, who has now decided that he is going to roll back all sorts of environmental protections, decades of legislation that he deems too woke. Hi, Serenity Queen. Hello, Red Baron. It's good to see you both. And the problem I see with people ignoring state legislators who do stuff like this, when the decades long or centuries long legislation that restricts women's rights, they won't touch those. Who cares if it was written in the 1800s and really reduces our ability to choose for ourselves? But no, let's roll back rights that help our environment stay clean, that help people out. This is what happens when your governor has an agenda. And Youngkin got lucky when he won his election, but he is clearly showing the people of Virginia why they need to evict his ass come November. Let's see if I can get this to scroll better. Yeah, there we go. There's Governor Youngkin for y'all's viewing displeasure. Let's see. E&E News reported on the Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin's purported power grab. Although the Republican Party was solidly defeated in the General Assembly and state elections, Youngkin has been advancing elements of that agenda through what amounts to be a series of legislative loopholes. So even though Virginia, thank you for the subscription picks, even though the state of Virginia has voted in a more diverse legislative staff, because I don't think a lot of people realize that each state has their own governor, and then under the governor it has a cabinet, a group of basically like their own little mini senate. And because he has been really bad with his whole I'm going to attack the woke agenda, I'm going to fuck with the education system, I'm going to be a complete wackadoo white right ringer. I don't care how it sounds. We know what I mean. The fact of the matter is, Youngkin has been bad for the state of Virginia, and he knows it. So in order to pay people back from the general election and the General Assembly votes that came in a few months back, he has been being sneaky and going against the grain, taking loopholes in these legislations to roll them back or completely eliminate them. You think that Santos is bad? He is far from the only GOP governor doing shit like this. We have Kay Ives with her agenda against transgender Americans and women's rights. The asshole in Mississippi who doesn't care if his constituents or people who didn't vote for him drink dirty water. The wine in Ohio covering up a big ass environmental catastrophe with what happened with that derailment still. And now Youngkin, who decided that he's going to use loopholes to fuck over Virginia citizens. This agenda includes rolling back clean car auto pollution standards, as well as withdrawing Virginia from the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, an economic program incentivizing the migration to clean energy. Per E&E, Youngkin withdrew Virginia from the program despite the 2020 statute requiring the state's participation, because he's being defiant in it. Youngkin also appointed Andrew Wheeler, a former coal lobbyist. Fossil fuel people are never going to let go that they cannot keep their grip on our world. Who worked under former President Donald Trump in a new authoritative office that he created specifically for Wheeler. They're not hiding the authoritarianism, and it only gets worse. Unfortunately, because some of the vague wording in climate legislation, it will be nearly impossible to stop the reversals they're enacting. They don't give a fuck about our country or the environment at all. Youngkin has chosen to ignore the law, break the law, and do things that he accuses Democrats, because I'm not going to just say they. He is the one directly saying the Democrats are the ones harming Virginia. Virginia House Speaker Don Scott has personally gone on the record saying, why we allow this man and DeSantis in Florida, Kay Ives in Alabama, that motherfucker with the glasses, Reeves in Mississippi, Abbott in Texas. All of these are names that should not be governing these states. Their states would be way better off without them. But we continue to ignore our local elections at our own peril because it leads up to what happened on Saturday. I'm not going to ignore it. Matter of fact, I'm kind of annoyed. Let me bop this up, because it's funny how our news runs with these images. Let me bop this down. This is the face of the attempted assassin. He managed to kill one dude, a firefighter who was GOP loyal, who used his body to shield his family from the gunfire. So I don't have any negative to say about that firefighter. He was a hero before he died. He died going out a hero. I might not agree with his political takes, but I am definitely, okay, Beans, thank you for the lurk. And trust me, Serenity Queen, I know how you feel. Abbott is a piece of garbage. DeSantis is a piece of garbage. Youngkins, Ives, all of them. They're all garbage, and they're trying to usher us in the bag. But what fucks me up about our news media is how we got this little school picture of this young man who's a Republican, and I'm not going to stop reminding you of that when I get to some of my theories later on in this cast. It's always funny when these mass shooters do what they do, cause the harm that they have. And our media caves to, well, let's show this young, bright, Boy Scout looking motherfucker who just had a bad day, who mental illness might have been the cause of the problem. And my thing is, y'all only want to talk about mental illness when it comes to fuckers like this. You don't want us to have funding so that we can get proper care for our ailments. You don't want to understand the ideology that also fuels people like this, and the Aurora shooter, the Maori Stoneman Douglas shooter, the Columbine shooters, what is the name of that? All those little babies from that Stony Brook, I believe, in Connecticut shooter. They all have the same issue. And I didn't even get started. Don't get me started on Top Shooter, the motherfucker from Florida who decided Dollar General black shoppers were his targets. It's all the same. You always want to post Boy Scout pictures, talk about how they had a bad day. You never want to focus on the toxic cocktail of mental health issues, along with right-wing ideology, that allows these people to continuously bring harm upon us. And now that he's fired on one of your own, oh, it must be a liberal conspiracy. It's got to be the liberals that put this right-wing, red-blooded American-spewing loner of a miserable, small-town Pennsylvania boy up to doing this. And I got some theories in a moment. But I need to remind you of why their agenda is scary. because this article popped up in my feed while I was getting all the stuff I needed for this shooter, and I'll bop him back up in a moment, y'all. But let's get this up, because people want to ignore that hateful ideology has always been an American standard. But in the recent years, these motherfuckers have felt boldened. I want you to take a look at this little girl's face. Let me tap it down a bit. This look of fear. And you might be asking me, well, Kalari, why does this little girl look so upset? Why is she crying? Why is she looking like that? Well, in Tennessee, which I have family living down there, so it's already fucking me up that this is happening. Neo-Nazis decided to march openly, loudly, and proudly. Now, I don't know about you. My grandfather fought Nazis in World War II, so I'm not too keen on them feeling emboldened to walk on America's soil, proudly displaying Nazi memorabilia, which you can't even do in fucking Germany. Is literally illegal. Proudly calling themselves the Goyim whatevers because they have to insult Jewish people constantly. Get a new playbook, you dumb bigots. Marching down the streets like they belong. I'm sorry, you know my slogan. The only good Nazi is a Nazi that's not breathing, as far as I'm concerned. But the fact that they feel this bold is a part of a collective agenda. And when you look at this baby's face, she knows what this shit means. Everybody wants to think the South is just full of bigots and racists and everything else. I lived in the South. I went to school down there. I do not believe that every person down there has hate in their heart for every American citizen. But I do believe that there's enough motherfuckers who feel like, well, if I feel better than somebody that doesn't look like me, act like me, pray like me, who cares if they're dehumanized? Who cares if they get rounded up and exterminated? It'll be a better blank-ass world full of bitter, angry people who are now mad because they have to establish a new hierarchy of if you don't got enough money, we're going to discriminate against you. Because what do you motherfuckers think is going to happen when they get rid of all of us? If their little dream of cleansing the world of black, brown, Asian, Hispanic, Muslim, Jewish, anybody who does not align with their supposed straight white Christian beliefs, because some of them aren't as straight, white, and Christian as they think they are. What happens if these motherfuckers get their alleged New World Order, their authoritarian state, get rid of or try to enslave some of us? Because we know your little agenda, trying to teach people that slavery was beneficial to them. What happens if they get that world they think they want? Those of you who think, well, I'll be okay, I'm not melanated, I don't hate people, but, I look good in those fascist uniforms. Maybe I'll turn my neighbor in. It'll be fun. It happened before in history. What's the worst that can happen? You do realize that even among fascists, there's a hierarchy. There's a pecking order. And some of you's jackboots will be low on the scale of who they will protect. Matter of fact, you fuckers will be thrown under the bus. Oh, I didn't even get my proper banner up, y'all. I had to go into the bathroom. I'm sorry, not sorry. Let me bop that up there. Because we're the Bonnet Chronicles today, not Saturday Bonnet Reacts. The thing is, what I think people fail to understand when we ignore stuff like literal neo-Nazis thinking they can march in our cities, thinking they can wave flags. And I'm telling you this, as somebody who lives in a nice rural part of Michigan, I've seen some things since moving here. My neighbors not too far down have their MAGA shit up. In the town over where we go to pick up our meds and everything else, they hang those weird-ass flags up. They want to be anti-woke when they don't even understand what woke means. It has been social conditioning for decades now to get these people believing that in some sort of religious theocracy that they will be still highest on the pecking order. These are the same people that will shun somebody in a hijab or burqa, saying, oh, those people don't know how to treat their women. They don't know how to treat people. They commit humanitarian rights as long as they're Arabic or Muslim. They don't even understand that there are a lot of Southeast Asian Arabic people who aren't. They'll confuse a Southeast Asian in a turban for being Arabic because they don't understand the difference between Hinduism. Their ignorance will let them hypocritically shit on other cultures they don't understand for their rights and religious restrictions. Yet they want to usher our country into that. But because it has a cross in the Bible involved, we're all supposed to just look away. I don't have an issue with Christianity, y'all, at all. I have a problem when people use religion as a way to suppress, dehumanize, and enslave fellow human beings. And when you see these people feeling emboldened, when you see their leader raising up a fist because he got shot by a fucking literal loner loser, what are we supposed to think? It drives me nuts that our media wants to downplay the impact that this motherfucker might have had. The fact that he alone, because there weren't second gunmen, we're not going to JFK this shit. I got enough of my own conspiracy theories about this shit that I'm about to get. Let me shrink this picture up a bit so you can see my mannerisms, because I'm really annoyed. This young man allegedly, because they still haven't confirmed whether he had explosives in his car or not, went to a rally. Mind you, he's a registered Republican, armed with a weapon that has sniper scope capabilities and had the scope. He had a beeline on his target. Now, unless it was a super windy day, which I don't think it was, the fact that he could only pop off shots, nick Trump's ear, take out an innocent bystander who was shielding his family. I don't like giving in to conspiracy theories, y'all. I'm not an Alex Jones type by any means. But most people who have any kind of sniper training, whether it's rudimentary or expert, can tell you that if he had his target focused and he had wanted to take that man out right between the fucking eyes, he could have. And I know everybody's clutching their pearls. Oh, you shouldn't say that, Tin. They're already dinging Tenacious D for a joke that they made on stage, forgetting that a lot of us do not like 45. I'm not calling for the motherfucking assassination. I'm calling for him to be embarrassed in November. I want him to be here to run in November so that millions of more of us, like we did in 2020, come around and say, never again, motherfucker. I don't care where you are on the spectrum. I'm not here to tell you how to vote. I know where my vote is going, and it's not to the bloody fist raised wannabe authoritarian. They're already putting that motherfucker on t-shirts, mugs. It's going to be all in his campaign slogan, the RNC, which I'm going to get to because his running mate is kind of questionable. Chanted fight, fight, fight. They want authoritarianism, y'all. And we who are the front against this fuckery cannot play around in November. We can't play with our local elections, but we definitely cannot play with this federal election because they have made it clear with Project 2025 where they want to go. But this young man, who they're trying to downplay, try to say, no, he must have been a liberal plant. No, he was a registered fucking Republican. And he took that shot along with several others. And he gave Trump the perfect little fist raised, bloody. And then you got these little opinion pieces by the little handmaidens for the GOP talking about, in this, we're all MAGA now. No, the fuck we're not. I can tell you right now, I'm definitely not. Nobody in my immediate vicinity of this house is. Those motherfuckers down the road might be, but no. No, we are not going to play these games. Him surviving an attack is authoritarianism 101. You have to look strong. Now they can go, well, he's strong enough to take a bullet. What about Sleepy Joe? Oh, you mean the motherfucker who came in 4 years ago with nothing? Had to roll back all the environmental damage that Trump did. Had to roll out a vaccine regimen that kept COVID from killing millions of more of us. Even though new strains keep popping up and these motherfuckers who don't want to get vaccinated are causing these strains. The man who held us together even as shit should have fell apart. And I know, oh, Tim, what about the economy? Everything's expensive. Everything. You think that having somebody like Trump is going to make things better? I can tell you that I can feel the dystopia that we would be in if we let this guy in Project 2025 in power. And exactly, Pix, voting is the only way. But so many people want to downplay. They did this shit in 2015, and we have 4 years of fuckery. I lose track of the list that I made of the shit that he did between 2016 and 2021 when he incited a literal insurrection because he couldn't accept a fair voting process. And if you think we'll ever get a shot to vote fairly again under their regime, you got another thing coming. She was out of pocket for that article, but it doesn't surprise me because that is how they operate. They want to brainwash the voter apathetic. They want to downplay how dangerous authoritarianism is. They want to unite us under a banner of dumb and make us foot soldiers for fuckery, and we cannot do this. Let me get some of this up. Because Michael Harriot, well, I don't always see eye to eye with. I'm not going to fake that front. Sometimes he hits it, sometimes he gets on my nerves, but he is very eloquent. And I know I hate using it as a black person, but it's true. He is a very good writer. He gets a lot of points across. I love the way he explained a lot of black history through slavery and civil rights. So I will give the man his props when I can. But let me make this bigger. Because Michael Harriot took on the Project 2025 bits that I just got to last night myself. Because I'm still reading that fucking manifesto. It's 900 pages, y'all. I'm not going to get through it in a day. I'm trying to write my own novel. But Michael Harriot did the thing for us. And pretty much breaks down their idea for black voters, even though the motherfuckers tried to say, well, now that Trump's been shot, maybe that'll appeal to black voters. They really don't know us. It is infuriating the shit they say will ingratiate Trump to us. When he got indicted and then convicted on those 31 hush money trial charges. When 91 indictments against him in Georgia got put against him, they thought him having a mugshot would ingratiate him to my people. Y'all keep telling us you don't know black people. But let me read this out. Their vision for us. Journalist Michael Harriot took a deep dive into the plans of that lengthy thread on X, because I'm not on Twitter no more. I locked my account down. It's just too toxic for me. And this is what he found. It terrified him. Among the proposal of Project 2025 relating to racial policy includes stripping the workforce protection from disproportionately black federal workers, eliminating programs like minority business loans, abolishing federal data collected on black employment and discrimination. But that's just the beginning, Harriet wrote. The criminal justice policy on Project 2025 can be summed up as get tough on black crime, go easy on white cops who overstep their bounds. They plan to end every consent decree filed against corrupt police agencies, undo bail reform, bring back stop and frisk, use the death penalty when possible, especially for drug dealers, like only drug dealers are black and brown. Come on, get off of that. Can you hear the dog whistles yet? But then it gets worse. Let me bop up the second part here. Because you think it can't get worse, but it gets worse. It gets worse. And it's sad. Because they think we're all too stupid to understand their plot against us. But in part 2 that I took from this article, it said, additionally, he wrote, Project 2025 calls for the delisting of white supremacist groups or terrorist organizations, even though they are meant to terrorize anybody not considered straight, white, and Christian, for the sake of protecting free speech and enshrining a very specific version of Christian nationalism in the law that caters to predominantly white evangelical churches on the broad range of politics, giving preference to these beliefs over the beliefs of black churches as well as the non-religious. So atheists out there, those of you who still want to be politically apathetic, imagine a world where these yahoos who think that you can be forcefully brought back into the church in charge with this Project 2025 bullshit. If Project 2025 became law, not only would it repeal FDA approval for abortion drugs and sue states that require employees to cover said abortions, they would rescind federal funds from any company, contractor, or healthcare institution that provides legalized abortions. Women, we already know our rights are constantly up for debate. It's like we're not even human sometimes in these conversations. I'm not talking to the handmaidens who are like, oh, I'll be fine. I can just go overseas and get it. I'm talking to those of you who realize that you're still of age to give birth, even if you don't want to. They want to literally make us forced broodmares. And I'm saying this as somebody who's actively working on fertility. I want it to be a choice. And it's not fair that these motherfuckers want to take our choice because they think, oh, women are just dainty. We're too dumb. We can't think for ourselves in the year 2024. It's fucking ridiculous. But to top it all off, Project 2025 calls for expanding school vouchers, which were originally devised as a tool to get around school integration magnates because they want to separate little white kids from everybody else. Because how dare they recognize that other people deserve to live in this country? How dare they recognize that civil rights is a thing for every American and that democracy should not be tread on? These same motherfuckers will wave a flag, put shirts on that says liberty, and then shit on what liberty means. Shit on what military families have fought for decades for us to have and take for granted. They say liberty in one breath, but want literal authoritarianism in the other. Make it make sense, because I can't. And to this day, predominantly flows to only white families, as well as eliminating programs for minority renters and home buyers. I'm so glad I got my house before all this. Because I'm really scared, y'all, that these idiots could literally grip power and do shit like this. And then oversight of racial bias in real estate appraisals, which are key obstacles to black families building the generational wealth that comes in owning our real estate. Defunding and underperforming schools, which that fucking No Child Left Behind already gutted our school system as it is. That's why a lot of us did go an alternative route with virtual schooling for our young ones, which I'll do for any future kid too, until we get a solid government in place that won't fuck up traditional schools anymore. I remember going to school having sports, extracurriculars, on top of the math, science, and learning how to read. You got classes like art and music and everything integrated, not just after school activities. And now they're all gone for test taking facilities. And they do harm to areas and cities that are predominantly black and brown on purpose because they don't want black and brown students to thrive. And it's sad that it has to be pointed out yet again in 2024, this fucking agenda. They want to eliminate any mention of equity or similar terms for federal regulations. The fact of the matter is, whether we like it or not, these motherfuckers want this. This is their agenda. To chase the vote. To fire Biden, who's doing his job. To usher us into authoritarianism. And it doesn't matter if it's the orange goon. If Project 2025 gets their way the moment a conservative president hits our White House, it's game over for those of us who actually believe in democracy, liberty, and justice for all. And it hurts my heart that I have to appeal to people who should know better, who look at that man standing bloody, thinking that he is some kind of hero when he dodged the draft, thinking he is some kind of leader when he runs from most things, thinking he's some kind of every man's man when he literally had to pay Jeannie Carroll $91 million for his assault on her. Had to be convicted for what he did to Stormy Daniels. And I am sure there are countless others because of his links to that disgusting, now dead predator, Jeffrey Epstein. Some of you want to look away from the bad because you really think you'll benefit under Trump. And it's fucking a shame. Because nobody benefits under authoritarian but the authoritarian and whoever's willing to kiss his ass until he flips out. And you don't think this big, incoherent man baby isn't going to flip the fuck out on even the people close to him? Let's get to the person he picked for his running mate, y'all. Because I thought this shit was interesting. Let me get this up. A lot of people have said that... Let me get this link up. it was funny that he announced J.D. Vance as his pick. Because like many other Republicans, he has some choice words for Donald Trump. And one of those choice words was he's seen Trump as America's second Hitler. Y'all ain't got to believe me. It's on record that J.D. Vance literally said, oh, this was the Maddow thing. I don't care about Maddow right now. Let me get the actual thing that J.D. Vance said. I have so many links, y'all. I was going over so many news things because everybody just wants to focus on the rally, and I'm not blaming you if you feel a certain way. I'm going to talk about political assassinations and why they're not so new in a little bit, y'all. But let me get this up because this is his running mate. I mean, I guess he's not like zombie fly on his head Pence, but this man literally went on record once saying that Trump could be America's Hitler. This comment came to wide attention in 2022 during Vance's Senate campaign in Ohio, where this newcomer, the guy who wrote Hillbilly Elegy, literally came from nothing and became a senator. He is the epitome of somebody failing upwards and social climbing his way to a potential number 2 position as vice president. Y'all want to talk shit about VP Harris, who has done the proper trajectory to VP, going from AG to DA to senator to now VP, who has a long history of legislative work that helped her constituents in California, who has helped people in the Senate, and who is now using her influence as VP to help Americans all over our nation. But this motherfucker who literally called Trump America's potential Hitler is now his VP pick. I know the man wanted to hang Pence, but it is pretty cold-blooded that you pick somebody that called you Hitler as your running mate. A literal social climber. He said, I can't stomach Trump. I think he's noxious and leading the white working class to a very dark place. I am never a Trump guy, he said. I've never liked him. J.D. Vance started out a very different place in 2016 versus where he is right now. He used to call Trump all sorts of names. But that MAGA Kool-Aid, that MAGA seduction, the money that rolls in from fleecing right-wingers who think that their place in the social hierarchy is at threat from having equality, from working together to build a strong nation. And even that, they can't even do that without leaning into xenophobia. Which, let me tell you as this plays out with the little ads. Xenophobia is a special kind of stupid hate. Because it's not like average bigotry. Oh, I hate this person because their skin is brown or black, or they worship differently from me, or they identify as a different gender than what I think they are, or they're a woman, or they love somebody that doesn't make sense to me as an alleged straight person. No, xenophobia is a distinct fear of anybody from a different country than yours. You might say, oh no, I like Canadians, but I don't like the Mexicans. That's xenophobia. I don't know anything about the Middle East, but if I see somebody shrouded as something, I don't like them. They automatically got to be a terrorist, ignoring that Nazis are literally marching down the streets of some of our states. That's xenophobia. Having an opinion on somebody's ethnic nationality without even fucking knowing them, which is bigoted or prejudice. Because I know some of you motherfuckers from the Grift Game might watch this after I upload it to YouTube. Especially she who scratches and sniffs herself. That is xenophobia. And it is a special kind of stupid bigotry that we have tried to eliminate for decades now. Centuries even. I remember the cartoonist, Dr. Seuss, showing that weird America First bullshit that they tried to pull back in the day during WW2 being nothing but fascist window dressing. Yet people tried to ignore it at their own peril. And trust and believe in the 1930s, we literally housed actual Nazis, rallies, and agendas, even in Times Square. Trump's old fucking granddaddy used to be a part of that. Even his daddy had ties to that bullshit. When I say it goes historically deep, the levels of people who are willing to trade our democracy and freedom for fascism, and it doesn't even fucking matter if they were once on the other side, who seen Trump as a menace, these people will continuously throw their own dignity and their own desire for freedom and liberty, which they continue to try to say, down the fucking drain because they think they'll benefit under fucking fascism. And y'all, I don't want to downplay what happened to this idiot. I don't think it's right for anybody to have fear of being assassinated. But as a black person in America who's watched civil rights leaders get gunned down for simply wanting us to not be dehumanized, and I said it on Spellable I Mean, if any motherfuckers try to link this idiot to Dr. Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, or any of our actual civil rights leaders, you might just get that war you want, because I'm over this shit. It's 2024. We got to stop playing with this bullshit. But Trump is far from the only person who has felt that kind of stuff. Let me get this pic up for you all. Properties. No, Huffington Post. I'm on this picture now. Oh my goodness. There we go. Splash. Get rid of that. What did I put Mr. Obviously? Maybe. Okay. I know I saved it under Shinzo. Give me a moment. I hate when my files disappear. I didn't even. No, that's that funny cat picture. Oh, that's all right. Let me just get a quick. Because I want you to understand that we are far from the only people who have experienced within the last 2 years even such things. And unfortunately for this man, the person who did him in was successful. And it's sad. I thought I did. Oh, because I didn't name it right. What the heck is JIFIN? No wonder it didn't save properly. I'm sorry about that. I was rushing to get so many of these things up. And I didn't even type the word GIF, and no wonder it didn't save properly. But if you don't know who this man was, this was former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. And I know, Tim, you're an American. Why do you care about a Japanese former politician? Because 2 years ago, Shinzo Abe, giving a speech to people, was murdered by a mentally disturbed man who blamed the then former prime minister, because he was no longer the prime minister at the time, for a family member's ties to a cult. The story is so muddled. But if you think what happened to Trump is something new, and don't realize that it happens all over the world, and that sometimes good people lose their lives behind what people think. Now, I know some people wanted to speculate on former Prime Minister Abe's ties to a certain cultist group, which was never proven. And the young man who accused him of that was just mad because his mother went into literal debt funding this cult. And instead of blaming the cult, he blamed the former Prime Minister. Shinzo Abe was a humanitarian. He tried hard to work hard for his country, and he paid for it with his life. Just like decades ago when Yitzhak Rabin, who was trying to draft an accord with then Yasser Arafat to end the fighting that is literally going on right now between Israel and Hamas. Because I'm not going to say Palestine. The Palestinian people are the innocent victims of this stupid ass war. For those of you who like to say that those of us who branch out in the girl world, for those who are going to watch this on YouTube, aren't aware of what's going on in the girl. They're just daft, as that fat bitch who tried to downplay my actual accomplishments and knowledge tried to say. I understand how fucked up it is in our world with people with mental health issues and want to blame innocent people for their struggles go off the deep end. And while I still, deep in my heart, feel what happened in Saturday's Pennsylvania rally feels a little bit too set up and coordinated, I will give respect to the fact that we should not have to worry in this day and age of political leaders being assassinated. Whether we like them or not, whether we want to vote for them or not, we have to become a better society where shit like this doesn't happen. We have to be a better society where a difference in political beliefs doesn't lead to violence like this. We have to be a society where we can be responsible gun owners without allowing for military-grade weapons to be used willy-nilly. I get so sick and tired of gun reform being shouted down by people who just witnessed their supposed messiah get shot in his ear. I'm not asking for all the guns to be repealed, even though that would fucking be nice. As somebody who was firearms trained, especially after my mental health issues were diagnosed, I stay the fuck away from those weapons. They are way too quick and efficient for me to do things that I don't want to do to myself. But I want a smarter America where if you own a gun, it is lock safety. If you have a family member with mental health issues, they do not have access to it. Where we have a way to keep them out of the hands of violent, dangerous offenders. When somebody who is charged with domestic violence no longer has the right to be a licensed gun owner, whether you like it or not. A lot. I think they capped it at 90% of domestic violence cases end with a partner who is committing it, normally a man, murdering their partner with a gun here in America. We are known so globally as the bang bang shoot 'em up country. That has become a joke. And all I am asking is for reform so that what happened to that doofus on Saturday doesn't happen again. We could go to the movies, to churches, to schools, to concerts, to rallies for people we want to support without worrying about such gunfire. And I know they're already talking about the head of the Secret Service's head's gonna roll for this. I don't know the woman well. I know she was a CEO of a major corporation before she landed this gig. But the fact of the matter is, if we don't focus on why this young man who did what he did, let me get his picture back up. Even though the media irks me with that whole, Thomas Crooks. We need to think about him as, we need to think about him as he was as a child. It's ridiculous how our media portrays him as this innocent kid on the left when the being on the right is the one who took it upon himself and his delusions. Maybe he thought he was going to make Trump a martyr. Who knows what he was thinking, because they shot him dead. So we'll never get definitive answers on what was going on in his head. I watched interviews with people that was like, oh, he was a quiet loner. He got picked on. You're not the only person who's got bullied, man. Any Gen Xer could tell you about being fucking bullied growing up and going to school in the 80s and the 90s. Before everybody was like, no, we got to give everybody gold stars and hold hands. And I'm glad that we are a bit tougher on bullying. But we tend to look away from the fact that it still goes on. And it breeds people like this. These dissatisfied, disaffected, disjointed from reality people with access to firearms that are military grade causing trouble. And he didn't just attempted assassinate Trump. He literally killed a fellow GOPer, a fighter who I might not have agreed with his political views, but to me, firefighters are heroes. Firefighters risk their lives to save families from dangerous situations. And he went out protecting and shielding his family. And the only reason why I don't put his visage up is because, like most GOPers, his social media is full of just hateful, harmful things. So while I can commend the fact that he died as a hero, and I can commend the fact that even before, and even in spite of his political differences, that he was a hero as a firefighter. I will not be saying his name. I will not be putting his visage up, because in the end, he was another one who wanted to march us into fascism. And it's sad that we have to divide ourselves like this, that we have to draw political lines. This is not just a difference of fucking opinion anymore. These people have made it clear what their agenda is for us. If we're women, we're broodmares unless we're too old, then who gives a fuck about us? If we're LGBTQ, what is that awful thing that they tried to put LGBT conversion, therapy, or elimination. If you're black and brown, completely reducing our rights, reinstalling the prison, the school to prison pipeline system that divides families, criminalizing us for just existing in America with black and brown skin, going after migrants who they've made the complete boogeyman. These people will say they are God-fearing Christians and that they love everybody. They're children of God in one breath, but dehumanize migrant people who just want to come over here and have a better fucking life. Oh no, they're all MS-13. They're all criminals. When you put up the facts and the data to how many crimes are literally committed by actual asylum seekers versus those cartel members, it's negligible, because actual asylum seeking migrants aren't here to be criminals. They're here because they cannot make it in the country they're at. They are under regimes down there that will forcefully eliminate them, all to come here and potentially, like that case I talked about a few Bonnet Chronicles ago that's ongoing, have their papers taken from them and be working like modern day slaves, like what's going on in Georgia with those farmers who had that little chain of people just using and abusing migrants who were living in deplorable conditions, also that you can have fresh produce from your supermarket that costs too much anyway. We got to stop turning a blind eye to this. We got to stop using fear and other humans as boogeymen because, oh, they're different from me. I can't trust them. I don't know enough about them, but Fox News tells me that I got to hate them. Fox News tells me that they're my enemy and that they're all just a part of gangs and here to rape, rob, pillage, and kill us. We need critical thinking. It is the fucking digital age, yet we are still fucking stuck on stupid. We let that low-hanging fruit of bigotry just completely mentally rot us. And we wonder why we can't get anywhere as our tech advances, but we regress. It doesn't make sense to me. And thank you, Pix, exactly. And yeah, there was the fact is, while I normally do not like the stereotype, when you see the profiles of a lot of these school shooters, even that Ethan Crumley kid, they all have that far away, I'm neglected by my society, I'm picked on by people who should be treating me as a fellow white person, but I'm just an outlier, which I need to remind you, in authoritarianism, this is going to happen big time for you. Especially if you don't have money, especially if you come from stock that people think is lower class or too rural. They'll use you if they think you're just a hick rube that they can throw under the bus when shit goes south. But they will allow you to be ostracized and mocked. Because in their authoritarian regime, there will always be a pecking order. And this young man is just a symptom of a sickness that has permeated through white America that people continuously ignore at our own peril. We didn't do anything when Sandy Hook happened that was far enough. We didn't do enough after Columbine, even though the restrictions on assault rifles gave us a bit of a breather until Bush took power, and then Virginia Tech reminded us what happens when you roll back those restrictions. We didn't do enough at Myuri Stoneman Douglas, Uvalde, Aurora, the rally that almost took Gabby Gifford's life, the concert in Las Vegas that took several lives, and now this rally. We continue to ignore the issue and chalk it up to a lone wolf with mental health issues, even though we don't want to fund mental health care. We only want to talk about mental health when it's bad. We only want to continue to stigmatize millions of Americans, myself included, who live with stability with our mental disease. but are always blanketed when these fucking degenerates take it upon themselves because they think they're heroes with a gun and take innocent lives. This is on us. Those who sit at home in November thinking, it's not going to matter anyway. They're both two old white guys, and I didn't get the old white guy that I wanted. So I'm mad. I'm going to withhold my vote. That's my protest. No, it's not. You're hurting us with that apathetic, I'm going to stay home bullshit. To those of you Democrats who are like, well, you know what? Both sides have their ups and downs, but we really need to rally against this man. He took a bullet. Are you fucking kidding me? Did you not lose family and friends in the 4 years under him? Did you not see how he disrespected a Gold Star Muslim family? How he disrespected a widow of one of the 4 Kenyan soldiers in Kenya who died mysteriously? Do you turn a blind eye to our allies, former allies in Yemen that he fucking hurt? To the 13 people that were lost in the Afghan rollout that he authorized? That the Biden administration had to carry out and still get dinged for it, even though he wasn't the one that authorized it? But then you would have blamed him. Oh, he just wanted this war to go on because it wagged the dog. You will always find ways to move the goalposts. But the point blank, those of you who see what has gone on, who can see the dangers of Project 2025, if you don't vote like your life depends on it in November, keep that motherfucker in anybody who they try to use as a heritage fund plant. Anybody who would rather dig up our resources and drain this planet dry because they think SpaceX is going to somehow literally get them to another planet where they'll just bring slaves that they think are less than them to terraform. Funny, I touch upon that in my new novel too. If you don't think that the dystopia that some of these motherfuckers gleefully rub their hands for, the whole apocalypse that they want to bring to us because they somehow think that Revelations meant we're supposed to destroy everything so that we can get into the kingdom, ignoring that God gave us this earth as our kingdom and we have been abusing this kingdom for the longest time. I don't understand why you don't understand that. But these religious wannabe jackboot wearers will usher us into those dark times. And it is on us to stand against these foot soldiers for fuckery. Vote like our lives depend on it because it does. Now, I'm going to get ready to wrap things up. I want to thank you, Pix, Red Baron, Beans, Serenity Queen for sitting in. I know it was fired up today, but there was a reason for it. Because we don't take this shit seriously. We want to play games with this sickness in our country of hatred. We want to look away from the lax gun laws that allow for shit that happened at that Pennsylvania rally to happen. We want to only criminalize the people that don't look, act, worship, or sexually identify as us. And it is because of this we are so easily conquered by stupidity. There's a reason why it was said that united we stand, divided we fall. And some of you will even wear that motherfucking slogan on a t-shirt and still do everything you can to keep us divided. Yous are not patriots. Yous are not Americans as far as I'm concerned. And you do not deserve to say that you are for liberty if you are for this Project 2025 MAGA bullshit. I don't care if I offend people at this point. I'm going to wrap this up. I will be back on Friday with another one of these. Then Saturday for my Girl World stuff. I'll probably do another Fit Bang again sometime during the week. Because I did one yesterday and people were very receptive of it. But for real, y'all. If you have the ability to vote. If you are 18 years and older. I don't care what your party affiliation is right now. Vote. Because there might be a time, if we slip up, that you will never have that ability to do so again. But I will see you all next week. Thank you all so much for sitting in. And I'm telling you, Vance was chosen because of that hillbilly elegy shit. He plays the part well. He is another chameleon. And he has failed his way up. But I want him to understand in November that his little shady chameleon ass is not getting that VP slot. But I'll be back, y'all, soon. Thank you all for sitting in. I'm going to go cool down.